Well, hello everyone. This is Dave from Dave's Garage, and today we're featuring a car that is a blast from the 80s, and it's a car that's not reproduced entirely faithfully because those T-tops are not all black as they would be, but they're two windows cut into the top of the roof. I was going to take a magic marker and redo it, but anytime I ever put a magic marker to a Hot Wheel, it's pretty much on the way out. So I'd rather have it as is rather than wreck it. And this car from the 80s is an amazing automobile simply because it replaced a very successful car that may have overstayed its welcome, the 1970 Firebird, from 1970 through 81. And that was a great car. That car started out as a masterpiece. It was General Motors Ferrari, and from 1970, started as in 1970 and a half to 1973, that was its vintage time. Then it went to the regulation period, and it just basically hung out and hung on because General Motors didn't know whether they were going to renew the car or not. But in '82, the new Firebird came out along with the Camaro, and it was a lean, share design car that was from the Irv Rubicki area in General Motors styling, no longer from Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell said that the interior of this car looked like Dracula's cave. He was not a big fan of this origami styling, but you had to do something in that era, and it was slightly downsized from the past, and I actually fell for it. I really thought it was a fantastic looking car. Although I did think it was a compromise compared to what we had had. Now, this car goes along with my clamshell, the Mustang, the Honda Civic, the 62, the 74 Chevy, the 69, the Packard, the Corvette, the Eldorado, the Subaru, the Chrysler Trio, and the Model B 32 Ford. And we're showing you around the collection because we want to show that you can really just have every car you want if you're willing to just size to the right size. Now this is, I call them all Hot Wheels, but now this car has a hidden headlamps, which was late in the day for hidden headlamps, but it made the car look good. It had a new sort of off-center hood scoop. I don't know if it was purely style or if there was something about the car's mechanical layout that made it be that way. It had a miniature decal chicken on it, Firebird that is. And it had a huge panoramic rear window, rubber bumpers, and basically speaking, it was sort of a disappointment in its moment, but also you realize that they were doing, this was a full effort. It wasn't, the pillars, by the way, weren't that thick, but it was a full effort, and it was GM trying to, have some of its mojo where its mojo had been. Now, this car was replaced by the 93 Firebird, which had way too much overhang, and it looked ridiculous. And eventually it faded from the scene in 2002. This car really hasn't gotten that big of a following. The Fox Mustangs were the pony car to beat in that generation. So, the Firebird was trying to replicate the GM successes of the 70s where the Mustang really just reinvented itself. So if Firebird had reinvented itself, GM couldn't probably go on living because the Firebird was not a post-box sedan, and that's what the Mustang was from 79 through 93, and GM wanted to have the highest styled cars on the block, from the 61 Impala up till the 73 Grand Am and beyond. They wanted to be the ones that ruled the roost and what looked good. But the Firebird has become, I can't say it's quite redeemed itself over the years. I think that it might take another decade or two or three before it becomes anything that's going to be, lighting the world on fire. The Camaro from that era is pretty much the same story. I mean, there it's more popular because people, just took to Camaros in a way. The Firebird was the also car. You know, there's the Camaro, there's the Firebird, there's the Mustang, and then there's the Barracuda. And to some extent, there might have been the Barracuda and then the Challenger, but the Challenger is the one that came back to another life. So, this Firebird, I liked it. I really thought to myself, if I could have gotten a car in the 80s, I would have gotten this Firebird and been plenty happy. Now, that's what I thought, but, you know, what you think isn't always what would really work. I mean, I knew a person that had a 93 Camaro. I got into it. It was like sitting in a cave with the windshield was like a sunroof. I mean, it was that leaned back. This one isn't so leaned back. But what can you say? The Fiero came out in this generation, and it kind of shared the basic styling philosophy with it. You know, but the Fiero, of course, was mid-engine. This maintained the traditional front-engine rear drive layout. White walls were no longer in vogue. I mean, you know, it was what they call hanging on, and it hung on from 82 to 02, and then it disappeared, and then eventually Pontiac itself disappeared. Now, I do not hanker towards, you know, ogling these cars, but when I found it in Hot Wheels, I thought, well, how many times are you going to find a 80s Firebird in Hot Wheels nowadays? And it's good enough. I mean, it's good enough. But boy, these windshield pillars look like they come off a brick line. I mean, you know, there's a reason for everything. This might have been a die that they came out with in the day when the car was new, before the technology of Hot Wheels improved the way it has. But it has its place. I mean, we've done the 80s now. We've done the 90s with the Subaru. We've done the 70s. We've done the 60s and the 50s a bit with the Chryslers, and even the 20s with the and the modern age, with the 20s with the Ford, and the modern age with the Charger. But this car, I wish, like I say, I wish it was a slightly more representative car, but you get the idea. And I would take you out for a spin in this, but it's not really a spin type day. You know, I mean, I'd have to. I'd have to just do so much, you know, and by the time I got on the road, I'd be pooped, and, you know, people would think that it's not old enough to really seem like anything but a used car still, even though it's 35, 37 years down the road, maybe even 38, could be 39. Anyway, we don't have a Firebird anymore, we don't have Pontiac anymore, but we do have a whole boatload of Hot Wheels, which includes a little bit of everything. I have gotten rid of so many Hot Wheels over the years. This isn't my full selection, but the full selection really is not much greater, unless I've got some hidden away that I don't know about. But I thank you all for joining me for this latest edition of Dave's Garage, which, as always, is a fully paid for, fully sentient collection of automobiles, which, when I pass on, I will donate to the Smithsonian. And then you could just, you know, go there and you'd see my cars. Okay, thank you. See you next week.